so lonely. I have nobody for my own.
I'm so lonely.
I'm so lonely.
What's up, guys? Spenny. Is the work of the FBI perfect? No. Is the agency able to be reformed by human beings? I don't know if that's possible. Was Dan Bongino a great selection to try and reform it? Has this man given his life to try and fight the deep state and to uproot the rot that it causes? Yes, absolutely. This is why at the RNC convention, I noted that everybody, at least in our audience and on our feed, wanted Dan Bongino to be serving
dozens
in
of
government.
people calling for you to be put in charge of a special task force to reform the Secret Service every single morning.
I think you and I know the boss pretty well. We were at the UFC with him, right? And I just had Kash Patel on. And I think my take on it is this. This is hilarious. Benny just takes over this interview with me on my own show. But that's cool. I actually
People
enjoy
wanna
that.
know.
Yeah, I like that. I think my take on it is, and you do the same thing. The boss calls and asks you to serve your country. You do it. And I mean, I wouldn't do a salary or anything like that. But you know, there are a lot of good people out there. I'm not the only one. And I really hope if it's not me, which, you know, I hope he can find someone else. I think after this weekend, you and I are both like, you know, WTF, you know.
Just saying. I'm just saying, Kash Patel saying he has Kash Patel on. Hey, I just had Kash Patel on. Well, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino running the FBI, but not anymore. Boy, earlier this week, we brought you the news that Dan Bongino may well be leaving the FBI, and now we know why. Dan Bongino is set to quit Trump administration after FBI job put a strain on his marriage. Here we go. And Dan Bongino, who has been happily married to his wife. They have 2 children together for something like 30 years. Says this. Deputy Director Dan Bongino is preparing to quit the Trump administration. According to a report, Bongino has started boxing up knickknacks from his office in D.C., sending them back to Florida, where he plans to return as a pro-Trump broadcaster ahead of the midterm elections, according to the New York Times. The former podcaster and Fox News host gave up a lucrative media career in order to join the Trump administration. However, his brief tenure has been marked by public ambivalence towards the role, as well as internal clashes, colleagues, including Pam Bondi, over handling of the Epstein files, which I think Bongino was absolutely right on. Bongino threatened to quit based on the Epstein files fiasco. In May, Bongino candidly admitted that the demands of the role were straining the relationship with his wife, Paula, who lives in Florida. Their 2 daughters. The pair have been married since 2003. I gave up everything for this. I mean, you know, my wife is struggling, he told Fox and Friends. I stare at these 4 walls all day in D.C. By myself, divorced from my wife, not divorced, but separated, and it's hard. And he said he didn't enjoy the work, and while noting that he was proud to serve as the president. People ask me all the time, do you like it? And I say, no, I don't. He added that it was challenging for his family, and noted that the president didn't ask me to do this in order to like it. Yeah, that's true. A major flashpoint came in July when Bongino clashed with Bondi over the Justice Department's conclusion that the Epstein no client list existed, contradicting years of theories that he had promoted on his show. Reports at the time described a tense standoff where Bondi accused Bongino of leaking on her. He took days off work, considered resigning the fury, and told allies the attorney general had overpromised and underdelivered, which is absolutely true. The controversy highlighted a tension between the past right-wing podcaster and now top law enforcement officials. Following January 6 pipe bomb arrest, the FBI announced earlier this month, Bongino revealed Sean Hannity how the role changed his interpretation of high-profile investigations. In the past, one day, I'll look back in that space, and that's not what I'm paid to do now. I'm paid to be your deputy director, and we base investigations on facts, Bongino told Fox. Sort of like already queuing up that he's looking beyond this role, right, in the past. The FBI deputy chief considered making his departure announcement at the press conference related to the pipe bomb arrest, according to the Times. The timing of his resignation remains fluid. However, the decision to ship all of his stuff to Florida means he has been firmly committed to quitting, the sources said. Bongino's departure would heap more pressure on Kash Patel amid the mounting outrage at the Brown University shooting. That is true. It is absolutely not a time to lose an ally. You can see here on Fox News, Dan Bongino sort of talking about the broken nihilism of the FBI and how it really strains someone who, well, likes his marriage and has to now be separated by thousands of miles and a lot of red tape. Dan Bongino, I gave up everything for this. My wife is struggling. I stare at these four walls all day by myself. It's hard. At least the dude's honest. Eager for center stage, Patel cast aside caution in statements as FBI leader. So this is the New York Times article that they're talking about as they talk through how Bongino is planning on stepping away from the role. The fate of Mr. Patel's top deputy, Dan Bongino, another incendiary former podcaster and Trump loyalist, appears to be more settled, though not entirely certain. Mr. Bongino said he plans to leave his job as soon as this week or as late as mid-July, according to 3 people with knowledge of his plans. I'm seeing a lot of speculation that it will be Friday. One sign might be sooner rather than later. Mr. Bongino has been sending office knickknacks and other possessions back to Florida, where he intends to resume his lucrative career as a broadcaster. Mr. Bongino's departure plans, his brief tenure, has been steeped in melodrama. This month, Bongino suggested that the associates that he might go out on a high note, sharing his plan to step down on a news conference announcing the capture of the pipe bomber near the party headquarters for the DNC and RNC. He even went out of his way to mend fences with Pam Bondi, whom he had accused of bungling the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. Bongino's tenure as the second in command of the FBI has been marked by public statements that veer from pride to defiance to defensiveness. He turned to social media in an effort to justify the administration's actions and appease many of the podcast audience. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Although shipping all your stuff back to Florida, man, I got to tell you this. We know Bongino. He loves his family, he loves his wife. He's a very binary and solid guy who sees the world in black and white, and then he's not going to be pushed around. After Dan Bongino to decide future at the Bureau in coming weeks. So this is what we reported on earlier. And this is Dan Bongino's, so the December 15th, this was his last post from his official FBI account that has almost 1 million followers. Protect the homeland and crush violent crime. These are words, not slogans. Investigative pillars of the FBI. As stated by Director Patel, we want to obviously destroy crime in America, hyping that they foiled a plot for a New Year's bombing. Yeah, Dan Bongino took a huge pay cut. What do you think about Bongino at the end of his tenure at the FBI, it seems? I got to tell you, I haven't reached out on this one yet, so I don't have any direct report to give you, what I know, what I don't. I consider Dan a friend, and we've been supportive, obviously, of trying their best to reform something that, I don't know, man. Is it impossible to reform an agency as corrupted as the FBI? I think that is the ultimate question at the end here. The ultimate question. And obviously, there's a lot of pressures that come when you're doing this fight seemingly alone, right? Dan has not seemed particularly happy in this role. I can tell you that from watching the media interviews and what he's been saying publicly. But what can you do? This is the work that's set before you, and the best you can do is try and get it done. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comment section. Will the FBI be better off? Dan Bongino, will you go back and watch his podcast? I have a feeling he's got a few bangers in the tank. It's your boy Benny. We'll be watching. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.